Hi there. In this episode, a top 11 list, the cutest little modern synthesizers. I'll also be covering some of the specs, features, and prices of these synthesizers. I have a market speak warning for you before we get started. Please consider watching my episode entitled Why Gear Specs Are Annoying and What is Puffing. You should definitely learn about puffing. I don't want to go into a lot of detail here. You can get the detail from the other episode, but I have to say something, and it's a little bit of a rant. I haven't read this quantity of marketing speak and gear puffing in decades, but I did so creating this top 11 list episode when I read the manuals and marketing copy for these synthesizers, at least some of them. I'm feeling sorry for some of the musicians out there that purchased a synthesizer that only has a sawtooth waveform or a super saw. Even if you have the new amazing Pro Mega Saw, you're probably kicking yourself. The Ultra Saw is scheduled for release early next year by the manufacturer that I won't name here, and all those older synths are going to be obsolete. Even if you're thinking of waiting for the Ultra Saw synths, you'll be sorry once the Mega Ultra Super Saw is released around December next year. Now that probably gave it away. This is just hyperbole. My point is that you shouldn't buy into the marketing speak that is out there. Listening, playing with a friend's unit or at a store, reading and understanding the specs has never been more important on modern synthesizers and keyboards. Most of these units are at a price point centered around $600. Here's a graph. It's an incredibly competitive market, and manufacturers are doing what they must to sell their gear. I've received phishing scheme emails and scam phone messages with less BS than some of the modern era market speak I've seen in recent ads for gear. I'm a big believer in consumer protection. Please take your time to perform due diligence before spending your hard-earned cash. Moving on. I have criteria for this episode, just like my classic list episode. For this review, in no particular order, but remembering the title of the episode, my criteria are look/industrial design, sound functionality, build quality. Also, it has to be equipped with real keys and less than 61 of them, so it has a small form factor, essentially a cutesy synth under $1,000. The more under $1,000, the better, as long as it retains my criteria. I'm not a fan of mini keys, but there are some great units out there with mini keys, so I'm allowing them on this list, just like I did on the classic list. In fact, the number one unit on the classic list has mini keys. Here's the list. At number 11, Arturia Mini Freak. It's an algorithmic synthesizer, at least according to the label on the front. $599 is what you'll pay. This is a 37 mini key velocity and aftertouch sensitive 6-voice digital synthesizer. It can be 12-voice paraphonic. You also get a VST version to run standalone or in your DAW, which is a nice touch. It's possible to buy the software by itself for $199. In a way, it begs the question, do you really need a hardware version? But that's a question for a different episode. I've listened to the VST version online and it sounds really good. So why would people spend the extra money for the hardware? Well, maybe they need a keyboard or want a keyboard with all the controls. Let's look at the aesthetics. It has mostly white text and white pictograms on a black background, which helps readability. Some text is a pale bluish green and it's harder to read. There are 4 bright orange rotary encoders in addition to all the other black knobs. There's also an orange line highlight and a very small screen. The pitch bend and mod are controlled with ribbon controllers with 13 LEDs that light up to provide additional feedback of where your finger is located. There is also a limited edition version of this synth with all black keys, which I find hideous and impractical, but opinions vary. Number 10, Korg 707. Used price, The range is about $275 to $350. Obviously, this is not a modern keyboard. However, since I included one newer synth on the classic list, I thought I'd include one older synth on this list. It seems fair. These units come in black, white, blue, and I'm not kidding, hot pink. I'm not a huge fan of the angled sliders, the round M1 style buttons, or the location of the card slot. So why did it make the list? Well, for several reasons. It's an affordable, compact version of the Korg DS8 without effects. But we're really talking about aesthetics, right? The looks. Now, this is Korg's 1980 take on FM synthesis, or 80s take on FM synthesis. You can put a strap on it and run around the stage, trading lead lines with your guitarist. Truly, for $300 and then another $20 to $50 for a wireless MIDI dongle, you're mobile with a very playable polyphonic synth / controller. You get a very generous 4 octaves with full-size keys that include velocity and channel aftertouch, which is a big plus over the Korg Poly 800. It is well made with a similar form factor as the Korg Poly 800. Now, getting back to looks and industrial design, it's really not that bad despite my minor pet peeves, or it wouldn't have made the list. If you were playing live and going mobile, a blue one would surely stand out. If you're a female keyboardist, the pink one would be a great choice and truly rock. People would definitely remember you. I hate to admit it, but if I were going to buy one, it might be the pink one. It's not just a keyboard, it's a conversation piece. I can see people coming into the studio and going, "What is that?" Also, my girlfriend loves my Korg Poly 800. She calls it my little corgi. If I had something about that form factor in bright pink, she might just steal it. And she plays, so she would probably have some fun with it. There are currently several for sale, but none that are pink. That's another reason why I might go with the pink one. I wonder if maybe Korg made less of them. Might make them a little bit more valuable down the road. Who knows? Number 9, Korg Multi-Poly. This is a very capable synthesizer, and it was probably inevitable. We have the Mono-Poly reissue from Behringer, and they really nailed the look and the sound for only $489. Used prices for the original Mono-Poly are in the range of about $1,500 to $3,000, depending on condition and what country they are located in. Behringer crushed the prices a little, but some folks are collectors and they'll just want an original no matter what. The Multi-Poly retails for $899. More on that later. The Multi-Poly has 80% of the look of the original, but is far more capable with 60 analog modeling voices, a screen, and a Chaos pad. Some advertising material states that it was inspired by the original Mono-Poly. The look of the device certainly supports that premise, but under the hood it's an entirely new monster synth. I'm a big fan of the industrial design of the original Mono-Poly. It has a beautiful design, and much of that is duplicated on the Multi-Poly. The dark blue face and a lot of the controls. The Mono-Poly has mostly knobs. The Multi-Poly has mostly buttons, more buttons than knobs, about 2/3 buttons and 1/3 knobs. I would prefer that the pitch bend and the mod control be located on the lower end of the keyboard, like the original and like most keyboards, and not above it. There is less risk of accidentally pressing a key with your palm when those controls are on the end of the keyboard. Obviously, this was done to reduce the size of the unit and keep costs down. A lot of the buttons and knobs look identical to what you'll find on other current keyboards from Korg, like the Wave State and the Op6. This is a good thing, as there should be plenty of low-cost parts available 30 years from now when they may need to be replaced by you. That's if you still have those keyboards. The layout of the controls is logical, compartmentalized, pleasing to the eye, and easy to navigate. The Multi-Poly is lower on the list than it might have been based on the position of the bender/mod controls and the unnecessary wood ends. I know some folks are going to love wood ends, and they just love wood ends. If it were a true reissue of the mono poly, I would have been on board. But this is an entirely new keyboard. Let's get back to price. At $899, it may be a reasonable deal based on what it has to offer. Seriously, I love the Micro Q keyboard, but it's hard to justify paying $1,000 for that keyboard when the multi-poly is hundreds less. It's a very powerful synthesizer and offers a lot more in the pro features area. However, if the substantial price drop of the Roland Gaia 2 has taught me anything, it's that it's hard for manufacturers to ask for more than $599 for a 37-key QD synth, no matter how great its capabilities may be. I'm hoping some musicians can see the difference in quality between this synth and some of the others on this list. Number 8, Novation Mini Nova. $449 new, closer to about $300 if you buy it used. There are always plenty for sale, both new and used. You get an analog modeling sound engine and more, 37 mini keys and 18 voice polyphony. It's a little toy-like in appearance, but that applies to other synthesizers on this list, and there is no denying the Mini Nova can sound very good. Not only that, its construction appears solid. The controls have a logical layout and you get white text on a blue background. I'm not keen on the metallic highlights that appear on the knobs, but they're not horrible. I do like the white lettering on the black buttons. Overall, the graphics are easy to read and it's cute. Number 7, Korg Microchord 2, $549.99 new, $599.99 for the limited white edition. The 37 mini key Microchord 2 is cute as a button. 8 voices of analog modeling, onboard vocoder, it'll run for 4 hours on batteries, a 2.8-inch IPS LCD, which means color. It comes in black, gray, or the limited edition white and silver version. The white and silver version has a metallic faceplate. That's the silver part. Usually I'm not a fan of silver faceplates, but it works here, kind of like the Polar edition of the Virus, which has a similar color scheme. The buttons light up white, red, and green. Most are white or purplish white. The knobs are white with metallic caps. The marker lines on the knobs are black on the left side of the display. They are multicolored on the right side, which corresponds to functions as identified by the display. Though I'm not a fan of a lot of color, I understand what Korg has done with the knobs. They are essentially soft knobs, but since the form factor of the unit is small, they are not aligned with the screen, so Korg color-coded them to match what is being displayed on the screen. It's a smart move. I would have chosen to omit the metallic caps on the knobs and provide more immediate recognizable color there. Sometimes it's hard to read what color those lines are. It could have been done as a circle to more accurately match the knobs as they appear in the display. I prefer the aesthetics of the black and gray model. It has mostly white text on a black background, which is a lot easier to read. It's a very cute synthesizer, but a little underpowered compared to some of the competition. I don't have one to review, but I feel $399 would probably be a better price. The used price for a mint condition unit is around $400. Number 6, Behringer DeepMind 6 and DeepMind 12. The DeepMind isn't really a little synth, at least not the 12, but it does have 49 keys, so that makes it eligible for consideration. And the 6 has 37 keys and is pretty compact and cute. This has been a current product for Behringer since 2016, so it must be selling. Think about it. The Jupiter 8 is loved by many, but it only had a 5-year run. DeepMind is in its 8th year and still going strong. It has white text on a black background which pops. It's super easy to read. I would have preferred white LEDs instead of orange, which includes the pitch bend and mod wheels, which have that orange glow to them, but it's not horrible. Generally, I'm not a fan of wood ends on modern synthesizers. They look great on a Mini Moog and a Memory Moog, but not on something like this. Number 5, Korg Minilog XD, $679.99 new. Generally, it costs $100 more than the non-XD model. The non-XD model is white with black lettering. The XD model is black with white lettering. It's a reverse, it's cute. Both are easy to read, and I can see some people having a preference for the white model. My preference is for the black model with the white lettering. The front panel has a logical layout. Despite having over 66 controls on this cute little 37-note, full-sized key synth, it doesn't look crowded. The wood accents on the back panel look okay, and some people are going to love it. If they were on the front panel or side panels, this synth wouldn't have made my list. As it is, it's essentially obscured when you're using the synth from the front panel. Korg features prominently in this list as they have several small form factor synthesizers that are current products, and their manufacturing quality and sound quality is excellent. There are several other synths I could have included from Korg, but I wanted this episode to be more than just one manufacturer. Number 4, Roland Gaia 2. An interesting fact of the Gaia 2, and it applies to a lot of synths on this list, is that it is in a very competitive market segment. That market segment is the under $1,000 synth segment, and it's full of great sounding synthesizers. I believe the original retail price on the Gaia 2 was $899.99. That dropped pretty quickly to $749.99. Now the current price on Sweetwater, and I just looked in mid-November 2024, and it's set at $599.99. That's great for consumers, and it just tells you how competitive this area of the market is. The Gaia 2 has a clean look. It has a white body with black lettering and bluish white LEDs. Some players may find the text a little small. There is really no way around this, as the front panel has approximately 100 physical controls, including the Roland version of a Chaos pad and a usable but small screen. Despite all the controls, it has a logical layout and it doesn't feel cramped. Part of this is due to the knobs being tiny, but you can use them without interfering with other controls. If you have small hands, it will probably seem fine. When I was trying one out, it was okay. I got pretty big hands and I found the knobs just kind of tiny. There is good delineation of the programming sections and the alignment of the controls. It's a cute synthesizer and it sounds great too. Number 3, Behringer MS-1. New old stock is about $249, which is a smokingly good price. Used prices are about $50 less, though you may see one or two for $1,000 because some people are deluded. The $249 price reflects a price drop since the MS-1 Mark II is due to be released soon, and it may be out by the time you watch this episode. The MS-1 is a clone of the Roland SH-101. A real SH-101 costs over $1,000 used, depending on condition and if it has the modulator grip and the strap. As far as the industrial design goes, it's a pretty faithful reproduction of the SH-101 with a few extra controls and functionality. I previously rated the SH-101 in my classic version of this episode, so you can go to that episode if you wish to see what I said about it. You have a choice of colors on the MS-1, black, blue, and red. All of the colors are fine for a keyboard like this, and the text is white and easy to read. The original SH-101 was a simple and beautiful design, and the MS-1 is mostly in that ballpark. It has a strap and a mod grip, so you can go mobile in mono with 32 velocity-sensitive keys to play. Unfortunately, the mod grip only comes in black, unlike the original, which could be color matched to the synth color. I'm betting some people will spray paint the MS1 modulator grip to match the synth color. And if they haven't done so, maybe just watching this might make them think about doing it. You get velocity on the keys. The original didn't have that, so that's a plus. Also, if you plan to go mobile, you'll need a portable power supply. Unlike the original, the MS1 won't run on batteries, and that's a shame. Still, battery technology has come a long way, so it's not hard to rig something up with a small power brick. I want to say a little bit more about the colors, and mostly about the red. The black and the blue look great. I'm also going to say that the red looks great too. Some of you may recall that I haven't been kind to big 88 key Nords regarding their color. I'm not the only person to say this. Even people that own them don't particularly like the color. Here's the difference. Unlike the 88 key Nords, the MS1 is intended to be strapped on for mobile playing. It's supposed to look flashy, and so it's hard to fault it for that. It might be nice to see them in some other colors, like yellow, green, purple, maybe even pink like the 707. How hard would it be to add different color dye to the plastic for the injection molding process of the case? I don't know, but it would be kind of fun. With the Mark II coming out, they could certainly do that. It could be cool. It's a cute little synthesizer that is value priced for its monophonic abilities. I miss my SH-101, especially since I sold it for $50 circa 1989. Number 2, Akai Professional MPC Key 37 standalone MPC production keyboard. Thank goodness they kept the name short. This unit is a budget hip-hop dream machine at $899. It has 37 keys with velocity and aftertouch, 16 RGB velocity/pressure sensitive pads, over 1,000 presets, decent storage options, and a 7-inch LED touchscreen. It also has about 60 physical controls, which is mostly buttons, but it does include 6 knobs. It's really cute and really powerful. Essentially, it's an MPC and a controller all in one. The controls have a logical layout, and in some instances work as soft knobs and buttons. All the knobs are black, while the buttons are white, black, red, and gray, which is appropriate for some of the functions like the controls that are used for stopping and starting the transport. I'm not a fan of the overall red color. The white text would have been more readable on a black background. Like the multi-poly and others, the pitch and mod bend wheels are located on the main panel and not at the far left of the keyboard, which would have made them better for some players. Despite the professional moniker on the unit, I would call it more of a hobbyist unit, though I could certainly see pros using it on the go as a scratch pad. It certainly is a cute keyboard and has a lot to offer. I can see the hip-hop crowd loving it, and I think that is who Akai is targeting. Number 1. You should know what's number 1. You really should. If you watched the other one, you should know what I picked here. Korg Wavestate Mark II. I love that Korg and I are on the same page with industrial design of the Wavestate Mark II. It visually reminds me a lot of my Korg Kronos X88, except Wavestate only has 37 keys. White lettering on a black background is perfection. White LEDs, black and white display, and the black knobs have clear to read white lines. Now, some devices with black knobs use just a black groove down the knob. In bright environments, that's tolerable. On dark stages and in dimly lit studios, it's infuriating. The Wavestate Mark II is a cute little synth dressed in a tuxedo. There are 8 white knobs with black lines, essentially a bow tie for the tuxedo. While I might have preferred black knobs, I can understand Korg wanting to include a visual highlight, which also includes the tip of the vector joystick. It sounds great, it has tons of functionality, and it's well built. This is one cute and powerful synthesizer. Now, undoubtedly, I'm going to hear in the comments about all the great synths I didn't mention. Usually I'd reply that this is just a top 11 list, so I have to make hard choices on what to include. That is only partially true here. There were others I wanted to include, but the list only includes 11 items. That is true. The bigger picture is that there are a lot of small, modern synths out there, but I don't necessarily find many of them cute, well-made, or desirable. A lot of them seem toy-like to me and not serious musical instruments. Of note here is the Yamaha gear that fits into this category, meaning the under $1,000 cutesy synthesizer. If you've watched other episodes, you may know that I'm a fan of a lot of Yamaha gear, and I currently own 5 pieces of their gear. And I have owned several more in the past, so I'm not slamming Yamaha here. Yamaha is mostly absent in this category when it comes to synthesizers, and especially analog synthesizers. They don't have one synth on this list, and they are a huge, well-respected company. Sure, they offer the Reface DX, Reface CS, and the MX49. The Refaces, I don't like the look of those at all. The MX49, it's a very capable synthesizer and value priced, but I'm not a fan of the industrial design or the looks of any of these units. I was wondering why Yamaha doesn't have their own line of cutesy analog synths like other manufacturers. And then it struck me. The early 80s were basically analog wonderland, and Yamaha crushed that with FM. They didn't do 80s analog, and they really don't have a lot in that area to offer from any decade. Perhaps they could do a reissue of the AN1X, but with better industrial design than the original. A lot of people really like that synth, including me. Also, a DX100 reissue might be an idea. That's another synth that is universally loved. What does seem true about most of the synths on this list, especially around the $500, $600 mark, is that they have a lot of controls. Players hate dumpster diving for parameters. The manufacturers of most of these synths have taken that to heart. Before I close, I'd like to talk about the next leap forward. A lot of the synths on this list would be 1,000% more desirable if they had at least 61 full-size keys. Now, I'm asking you, do you agree with that? Seriously, I am asking that of everybody that watches this video. If anyone wants to tell me in the comments whether the limited number of keys on these synths or the fact that some are mini keys stops them from buying, I'd like to know. Probably companies would like to know too, because that's good market research. Maybe they already know. Perhaps it's just my preference to have at least 61 full-size keys. For a lot of what I do, I want to play two-handed, and 37 keys is inadequate. If you're a person experimenting with sound on a cute little synth sitting in your lap, you probably don't care. For serious production applications, I'd rather have at least 61 keys, or I'll probably just do it in software using an 88-key controller. Now, after all this, I'm still considering buying a WaveState 2. And I already own 3 versions of the original WaveStation. 4 if you count the Kronos. I've got to sit on my hands. Thanks for stopping by. Take care, and I'll be back in another episode soon.